Do you feel that your ideas are getting lost in the crowd and failing to stand out? What if adopting an innovative mindset could set you apart and propel you to new heights? That is what we're going to talk about in today's 10 by 10 by 10 lessons in 10 days, and hopefully under 10 minutes as we learn about how elite thinkers stay ahead of the curve and why it's important to innovate if you want to dominate. And we're going to take our lessons from one of my favorite Olympic lessons, even though if the Olympics is over, you can still take lessons from these phenomenal athletes and show up like an Olympian in your industry, business, or any part of your life. So, when we talk about innovation, if you've watched the 2024 Olympics, they have this new thing called the repechage, and that is for second place. And ideally, it was for runners who, or not runners, athletes in most of the heats or most of the sports. I don't know if every single sport had a repechage, but from the ones I've seen, is for the ones who didn't make it in their qualifying in their heats. So the heats, and for them to have a chance in the semis and then move on to the finals, hopefully. So it is a second chance, and I believe the word is French for second chance, and that was the purpose of the repechage. But then we get Freddie Critton, who was supposed to do the hurdles, and he felt something. He was about to take off. He felt something in his leg, and he was like, okay, that's not it. So he did not go full speed, but he did go ahead and finish the race, coming in at 18 seconds, which is very slow for 100-meter hurdlers. And so when he was time for his interview, now I'll be honest, I was like, okay, it was a cop out. He was not ready. I don't know where his mind was, for him to just automatically go over into the repechage, but he said it was strategic and he felt something in his leg and he didn't want to push it even further just to qualify when he knew that he could get help from the medical team, rest up, get it back together. Let me finish this race because you do have to finish and then I'll come back stronger. Whereas other athletes, they push as hard as they could, to get, between the depending on the first two or the first six spots, however, whatever race or event it was, to get into those qualifying numbers. He was like, well, I'm going to forego the qualifying. I'm not going to push my body to do that. So I'm going to do it in the repechage. And sure enough, it was strategic because he did come back and do an amazing job to get to where he needed to be. So that made everyone start looking at the repechage very differently. He was very innovative in how he approached that race. One of my other favorite highlights was Ken Rooks running the steeplechase, but also, um, well, I'm going to talk about him because I think I talked about some other ones. But when we talk about innovation, this young man, I think this was his second national games, maybe his first Olympics, and he looked around and sized up the competitors, the big names in the field. And he strategically placed himself in that 3,000-meter run, and he ended up winning second place. So it was all about placement and being strategic. So how does this help you in your life? What lessons can we learn from this? One, you have to stay ahead of the curve. You already know that there are some big people in your industry or whatever you want to do. We'll keep this focusing on your career and business, but you can also apply this in life. There are already big names out there. It's not always about can I make it to the top, because sometimes, you're not going to be that person, but in your respective field, could you find ways to stand out without trying to copy someone? What is something unique about you? What can you learn from your quote unquote competition or the big names that you can take and make strategic placements in your life? Now, these are some of the things that you can do on your own. And then if you really want to advance, you can work with a coach, and the coach can help you foster that thinking, because it's not always about your skill set, and the training that you do. It is about strategic thinking, just like we have seen some of these athletes, especially American athletes who have not dominated the field in certain sports, or who they're trying to come back on top after so many decades of a drought. It's really about thinking. We know you can run, we know you got time, speed, strength, whatever, but now it's about using what you've learned strategically so you can stay ahead of the curve, because everyone gets to watch anybody's film if they want. I think that's something that's missing in the coaching consultant industry, like treating this like an Olympic sport. You can watch film, you can watch your competitors, you can buy their products, you can look at their funnels. There's a whole company who has a company called an event called Funnel Hacking Live, where you literally go hack your competition's funnels, and either improve upon or do something similar. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like if you want to be at a certain level, you have to understand how these elite thinkers work because it's not always about talent. You've seen some people who have less talent than you, but they, or me too. And you're like, how are they killing the game? How are they up here at these levels? Or how are they having this best life or making this money or whatever the case may be? A lot of them, it is thinking, or they have someone behind them that are helping them with those different perspectives or those different strategies. Now we get into thinking about different perspectives and why you will want to work with a coach, strategist, or a mentor is that diverse perspective. You know, you all day, if it's something so close to you, you're going to do it the one way that you know how. You're going to focus. I've been doing this. I've been doing this. I'm going to execute. But you need that outside person who's not emotionally as attached as you are, who can give you that different perspective so you can think more of innovation. And sometimes we think, let me just execute to dominate, but a lot of times it's really about how am I going to innovate what's already happened so I can dominate. You can look at a lot of the big industries who, cars, streaming services, clothing, whatever the case, cell phones, Steve Jobs and the Apple company didn't invent cell phones, they just innovated. You can look at that in any other industry. But then you also want to work with a coach who can help you unlock creative potential. And again, that's something that's also missing. When people are going to these coaching programs, it's always like it seems like it's a one size fit all or follow these exact steps so you can have this exact success. And while there may be people who are getting success in that, but you don't know what you're limiting yourself with if you don't have someone who can pull out the creativity in you. You may be good at coaching, you may be great at digital marketing. But what if you were phenomenal at, I don't know, construction? I'm just making something up here, but something where someone can think about, I put myself in, following, a coach or a consultant really to learn this new skill set and being in some of his trainings, I've got certain ideas like, wow, I could do that or I could structure my company that way. I didn't know that was possible because people in my actual industry, they're not doing things that way. So I had to step outside of that to get a different perspective, and then that unlocked my creativity for me to think. And so I'm grateful for that experience. And that way I can bring the same thing to my clients. And I've done that as a college professor with my students, giving them different ways to approach their careers. So, what I want for you to do as we become the Olympians of our industry is find a coach, strategist, mentor that you can brainstorm with. And don't be so worried about somebody stealing your ideas or taking your ideas. I was in another training at the VIP level with a coach, and he gave this idea to somebody else, and I was like, "Oh, I can use that." I'm not taking that guy's idea, but it still unlocked creativity because I was in that environment and I watched their brainstorming session, and that allowed me to validate what I was already thinking and then have some different ways to approach it. You also want to make sure you participate in creative problem solving sessions. A lot of times, I think a lot of us have gotten lazy, like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Let me shut my brain off. And that's very dangerous, for what you want to do, because there are a lot of people who have these amazing ideas and time runs out. I don't want to be morbid, but they end up leaving this earth with so much because they shut their brains off. And even no matter what level of success you're at, if you're still breathing, you're still capable, then you want to make sure that you always engage in problem solving sessions with someone, because you never know, if you go think about a problem long enough, what solutions can unlock if given the space and opportunity. And finally, I want you to think about implementing new strategies and review the outcomes from your coaches, consultants, mentors. Feedback. Feedback is critical. Again, a lot of times people go into coaching programs, and that can be for any area of your life, not just growing your business. It could be in relationship building, fighting your spouse. And there's a feedback. Like coaches, like good coaches, great coaches give you feedback, and you're supposed to go and fix that. But a lot of times people enter and just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And then the coaches aren't giving feedback. So if you are a coach, consultant, strategist, and you want to elevate and provide value to your clients, make sure you introduce that level of feedback. And there's a strategic way to give feedback, and more than just saying, oh, good job. And if you are a student or a client, listen, because that is what you invested in to get that feedback. So as we are wrapping up for this lesson, I do want to invite you to the 3R Virtual Expo from Resume to Reinvention to Remarkable, how to shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneur way of thinking. You don't necessarily have to become a full-time entrepreneur, but there's a certain way that entrepreneurs really think, and it's all about innovation. The world goes around because entrepreneurs have learned how to innovate, and the big people have taken that innovation and dominate it. So think about what you can dominate, and we're going to talk about those things at the virtual expo. It is pre-recorded, but I still want you to show up live and get your VIP ticket so that way we don't just sit around and listen to some great conversations. We put together a plan and then we move forward. Even if you don't move forward with me fully, I still would like to partner with you, get some foundation in place for you to take it wherever you're going to be. So as we conclude, and I can't wait for you to hear from lesson 7, if you are feeling like you can't stand out, don't even think about trying to create your own will. How can you innovate something that you already have, or innovate and improve upon what's already out there in your industry? And then that way you can take your ideas and propel yourself to new heights, because it's all about serving people bigger, better, and higher. All right, see you on the other side.
Are you making your dash dazzle? You know, that gap between your birthday and your sunset? If not, you're doing a huge disservice to your community, to yourself, and to your family. Hi, I'm Vernita Glenn White, and I want to welcome you to the Virtual Expo from Resume to Reinvention to Remarkable. This isn't just an event, it is a movement to bankrupt the burial plots. Now, you may be thinking, well, that sounds a bit morbid, or what is that, and how is that even possible? Well, keep listening. I've curated a special group of experts, and together we're going to show you the benefits and importance of being able to shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial way of thinking with ease. Now, your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations are way too big to be contained in a box of your current situation or trapped in the mind. And my guests have figured out the secrets to what it means to truly get out of your own way while you're still living on this planet. They are ready to reveal these secrets to you so you can turn those possibilities into reality and make your dash dazzle. So what inspired me to take on this huge task? Well, before I was born, I learned that my grandfather had an opportunity to purchase some land, and before it turned into a major tourist attraction. He also wanted to start his own barbecue venture. Then later on, my mother had a vision to become a major Christian author and speaker for women and young adults who wanted to understand the Bible in a practical way. But unfortunately, in 2012, both my grandfather and my mother passed away 3 weeks apart, and all those ideas and dreams went into the graveyard with them. Now, every time I visit the site, I see new plots, and I can't help but wonder what inventions, communities, or businesses will never get to experience because maybe that person thought they had more time, maybe they didn't have the courage to get started, or they lacked the persistence to keep going. Or perhaps they got too comfortable with the success they already had and didn't go for more. We'll never know their reasons, but right now you have a choice, and I don't want you to live with any regrets. So I'm launching this movement to help you step into more courage, persistence, and ways to think bigger. As a former mathematics teacher and college professor, I understand your need for a plan and wanting the step-by-step to get the right answer. So consider this virtual experience as a series of secret formulas only for the people who are ready to embrace their brilliance, explore new possibilities, and expand their minds for bigger goals, and finally achieve the results that will leave an impact on this planet. I felt myself heading this way. Even with all my degrees and accolades, I knew I was hiding behind comfortable success, and the tug to do more was getting harder and harder to ignore. So if that sounds like you, or you want that to be you, in the box next to or underneath this video, there's a place to insert your name, email, and phone number to get access now. When you click Get Access Now, I'll send you an email right away with all the details for this curated virtual expo. Now imagine this, the expo is over and you let out a sigh of relief because you finally heard that one thing that clears some of the messiness in your mind that has been blocking you from the money or the manifestation you needed to catapult you into being the solution to hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people. That's the feeling of being remarkable, and you deserve that, to feel like that every single day. Be sure to enter your name, email, and number so I can give you something extra special before the virtual expo begins. It's time to make your dash dazzle, and I'll see you on the other side.